everybody. I'd like to call the Wednesday, April 17th, 2024 Joint Finance Audit Budget and Records.
Use the mic.
Yep, it's on, it's on.
It's on.
It's on.
Joint Finance Audit Budget and Records and Public Safety Committee to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item is adoption agenda. I need a motion to adopt.
Adopts the agenda.
Support Nard.
Moved by Romano, supported by Nard. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, please vote.
Oh, my goodness.
Commissioners, we're going to keep our fingers crossed with system today. I've already been warned, so first vote looks like it went through. Adriana?
Oh, I'm missing Commissioner Lucido. If you want a voice vote, I'll add it.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 11-0.
Okay, next item is approval of minutes for Joint Records and Public Safety, Finance Audit Budget Committees dated March 19th, 2024. Need a motion to approve.
So moved by Nard.
Support Van Sickle.
Moved by Nard, supported by Perna. Any corrections to the minutes, Commissioners? Seeing none, please vote.
Commissioner Van Sickle, if you want a voice vote, I can add it in. I don't think it prompted for you.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 11-0.
Okay, next item is public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation for those who would like to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item which is on today's agenda. There'll also be a second opportunity for public participation for those who would like to speak on any issue. Would anyone from the public like to speak? Agenda items only. Going once, twice. We'll close public participation. Next is presentations. This is 6A, Central Intake and Assessment Center Update, April 2024. I need a motion to receive and file.
So moved by Nard.
Support.
Moved by Nard, supported by Haw. Ben, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is my easy item for today. I get to introduce our project team for our April quarterly presentation. And this is our second presentation. First person to kick us off here is Joe Asperger from Plant Marine Real Point.
Board, thank you for having us here back again to go through and share our progress on the Central Intake and Assessment Center. As you'll see, just our quick overview, we'll just continue to remind you of the project goals and objectives. With each of the dashboard reports that we've given, we've highlighted those up until this most recent one, where we're shifting some of our focus to what we've got coming up ahead and where we'll be back in front of you guys in the next several months. We'll then talk about just where we are with some of our procurement of some of our professional services. We'll then turn it over to our colleagues with Partners in Architecture. They'll give an update on where the design progress is going, and then wrap up with our colleagues from Granger Construction, who will talk about some of our strategy around some of the construction aspects and some of the pre-construction services that we've been doing up to this point. And then we'll finish with any questions and answers. I won't go over each and every one of these with you. You got them up on the screen. They've been reiterated in each dashboard report, but certainly our focus is always maintaining what the overall goals and objective of it to really address the health and substance abuse issues that continue, and how does that permeate into all of our decisions that we're doing. So ultimately, that's really what we're trying to do. Maximize, take some of the old facilities, make them new. The team from PIA will go through and explain how we're looking to accomplish a lot of that by maximizing those opportunities and to provide the services that are necessary for the community. Just a quick update on much of our professional service procurement. For the most part, most of our services have been completed. You'll see those on the screen. Last month, we brought our commissioning agent forward, which was approved. We then will actually, our next one that we're currently working on putting together is really more so a quality control, which is material testing inspection. So this will prepare us so that when we actually bring forward this summer more of our aspects around the actual construction, this firm will actually help us with that quality control. They'll be able to test to make sure that the site conditions and the soils are good, that the structure is actually put together. So this is really that belt and suspenders, the quality control services. So we'll be bringing that to you soon, as well as some of the envelope commissioning pieces of it. Again, these are these quality control type items that make sure that all the design intent, all the construction is checked and make sure that everything is in place. And then as we move forward later in the year, we'll be talking about FF&E, which is furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. So we'll bring that to you later, as well as any moving type services that we have to turn to. So I'll turn it over to Mike Malone and Darren McKenna for our design update.
Thanks, Joe. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here again. I can't believe it's already the second update, but we're very excited to show you what we've got. Since our last time here, which I believe was in January, we kind of were at the end of our schematic design phase at that point. We're now well into our design development phase, which, really starts to, work out all the kinks of the plan and all the details of every space. We've been working closely with the sheriff, Captain Mish, community corrections, and the medical and mental health folks to try to really zero in on their particular spaces. So there's been some refinements since January, and there's going to continue to be refinements as we kind of button up these design documents and construction drawings. Sorry about that. So our program square footage has been slightly reduced from where we were in January, and the main goal there is really to hone in on the budget for the project. So our construction partners at Granger have done a very detailed cost estimate. We have to really double check everything that we're putting in this building and making sure we can deliver the project within your budget. And we are on budget and we're on target. So we're down to close to 160,000 square feet of new space. Our bed count slightly changed as well. We're down to 1,178 total beds from, I think we're at 1,203. So 25 beds reduction, which is a result of kind of squeezing some of the floor space in the floor plates, and we'll show you that here shortly. The existing facility, the three areas that we're demolishing, that hasn't changed. We're well into the detail of how we're actually doing that now, coordinating the overall construction schedule with Granger and their team. Site plan approval we received on April 2nd, so myself, Darren, Joe, Don was gracious enough to attend, and he did speak very, very well for the county and represented the county very well with the city. But we got unanimous approval of our proposed site plan. Leading up to that meeting, we had met with the city and their engineering team 2 or 3 times, the fire department as well, just to kind of get all of their input, make sure we hit a home run on the first presentation, and we did. So right on schedule, just the way we planned it. No major changes from their end. So that's great news. The next step is really submitting engineered plans for the site drainage and all the utilities, and we're working on that as we speak. The exterior elevations, or renderings, I should say, still pretty much in tune with what we've had before. We've modified the exterior envelope slightly, reducing some glazing. The configuration is slightly different, but it looks pretty much the same as what we had in January. The floor plates, you can see the ground levels in the upper left corner there. Level 2 below that. Those are pretty much as they were, with some slight modifications and reduction in area. Levels 3 and 4 have changed slightly. We've cut out a lot of the day room space that is kind of open to the cells that kind of surround that space. So that's where we've seen a lot of the cost savings in building square footage and building area. The ground floor entrance, public entrance, really the same. There's a public lobby. All the services to service the public are right there. There's a separate staff entrance on the north and the south side of the building, and they are within a secure perimeter. This is just a 3D image of, kind of the whole building is built in 3D. So the program we work in, everything is modeled And we're using these as tools to share with the user groups and the stakeholders so they can really understand their space. And this isn't meant to like go through every item, but we really blow up each of those colored areas, walk through those areas with each of the users to make sure they really understand what they're going to get. Here's a couple floor plans. These really haven't changed too much, at least this one hasn't from the last time. This one here is third floor. You can see the cut in there on the left side, that space was eliminated, and the fourth floor as well. These are the general population housing areas and the mezzanine. A couple of the very basic 3D imagery, you can kind of start to feel there's no materials or finishes shown in these yet, but it really gets you kind of an idea of what's it going to feel like when you walk into the public lobby. There's a break room, video arraignment booths that we've been working with Lori and her team on really perfecting that space for their use. And I'm going to turn it over to Darren here.
Good afternoon. So this slide is just referring to the additional work that's going to be done within the existing jail facility, in part because of the demolition of 4 of the wings of the jail, as well as some additional work to help support the jail going forward for the foreseeable future. For example, in the upper right corner, you'll see a purplish or lavender area that is a renovation area to the existing vehicle maintenance garage. Right to the left of that is a small addition which would accommodate a loading dock. And then the other areas in green and gray are minor renovations, except for the gun range, which is bringing that up to current gun range standards to allow the sheriff's office to train their deputies properly. That was the below grade level. This is the ground level. What you'll notice here is that these are renovations that are planned as a part of this project, as well as those that have been defined that are going to be deferred for a future capital project. Again, some of the spaces are directly being relocated from the areas that are planned to be demoed in the existing jail. So various areas, you can see this green area in the middle. That is currently where video arraignment is located. Video arraignment is going to move to the CIAC building. And so that space is going to be opened up for possibly some training and the new simulator training room that's in D block. Other areas are storage. The red kind of stripe at the top is the connector from the existing ground level floor of the jail that's going to connect over to the CIAC. And then there's other CERT areas, mobile field force storage. Some of the areas are really just minor, some are more major, and we're working through exactly the details of those renovations with the sheriff's office and facilities now. Another aspect of the project is what we call the CIP, or Capital Improvement Project. It includes mechanical upgrades, generator replacements, sanitary piping, and domestic water replacements, which have been a legacy issue with the jail for quite some time. Again, the gun range renovations, which was shown on that jail renovation plan. The motor control center, which controls many of the mechanical units through the jail, that's going to be modernized to current standards. The fire panel and associated devices, that's their fire alarm system, which is planned to be completely replaced and modernized. And then elevator upgrade and replacement, which is currently being evaluated. There's 7 existing elevators in the tower and the other areas of the jail that are going to remain even after the demolition. We have an elevator consultant who's working with us to evaluate those. We're still working through options and those costs. We don't have a conclusion as to the amount of the upgrades and replacements just yet, but we're very close. In addition, the gun range renovations, I just want to cover that because that is an important part of the project. We're going to upgrade the bullet trap. The gun range is going to be safer in that it's going to allow them to do other tactical training activities, And then it's also going to be acoustically treated because there are training rooms and other administrative spaces that are adjacent to it. And then probably the most important thing is that the ventilation is going to be upgraded. There's currently not enough ventilation through that. And as they're operating the gun range, ventilation is very important, right? So we are evaluating the existing piping using a testing engineer that has yet to be started, but that's coming online. And then there's plenty of electrical testing that's being done to allow us to upgrade their generator systems and their emergency power systems. As Mike had indicated earlier, we are in the design development phase that follows schematic design. If you look at that middle section, once we get through design development, Granger's construction team, estimating team is going to do another construction cost estimate, allow us to evaluate where we're at and make sure we're still on target with a budget. If that gets approved and we're able to move forward, we're going to jump into construction documents, which is the longest aspect of the project, which gets us to what we call bidding documents at the end. So the full project, and again, it's going to be bid out in various phases. Jeff from Granger is going to talk about that. But at the end of construction documents, that's when we would be, which is roughly slated for October. That's when those documents will go out and we'd have full bid packages. Any questions on the design update?
We can start, we have questions already listed. Do you guys want to go through the full presentation? And
Sure.
then we'll,
That's fine,
why
for
don't we
sure.
do it that way.
All right, good afternoon. It has been a quick quarter since we last met. I'll try to keep our update relatively brief from the construction manager perspective. The pre-construction phase to us is a very planful time. As you heard Mike and Darren talk about, we've produced two very detailed estimates, one for the central intake, one for the capital improvements portion of the project, and we've gone through a reconciliation. So they alluded to some of the adjustments that were made to the scope to kind of dial in and making sure that we're holding budget at the appropriate amount. So we are currently on budget. The other aspect of this phase for us is as the details develop, we want to make sure that accordingly all of the other plans that we're making develop along with them. So we're adjusting the schedule. We're adding more detail into the schedule. We're adding more detail into the procurement plan. One of the very notable items is we really dial in the logistics and sequencing. This is a very complicated project that requires a lot of orchestration with sheriff's office and corrections, as well as the design team as we work through the demolition phases. You know, buildings are going to come down at different portions of time. So the site is going to change, access levels are going to change, parking is going to change. We want to represent that so that it's very clearly communicated to the users in the building and what we have going on site. We're maintaining secure perimeters, et cetera. So that's a very critical part of what we're engaged in at this point right now is that planning process. We're also conducting constructability reviews. So essentially, we're making sure that the sequence of work and what the design team is developing is buildable and understandable from the subcontracting community. So that's another activity that we're actively involved in. And then we are reaching out to all of the trade contractors to raise awareness of the project. You know, this is a large project. We do have a lot of groundswell, so to speak, of trade contractors. They're very aware of it. We want to make sure we're bringing as many of those trades to the table as possible when it comes time to bid the various packages. Are you going to go through the next bid packages schedule? Or do you want me to hit that? This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just a quick highlight, we had shared this slide before. We continue to kind of show this in each of your monthly dashboards reports, just to give you an idea of what's coming up. But here in April, as the team alluded to, you know, what we're going to have is that as complicated as this project is, it's not a traditional design it, bid it, and build it. And so really what with our multiple sequences that Jeff was alluding to. What we're actually we're bringing forth, as as Jeff talked about, is there's right now we're anticipating 4 bid packages, and so that first of those 4 bid packages will actually hit the streets here next month. And with the intent of that, with that bid package, will only be for a portion of the work. And right now, that anticipated portion is for the demolition scope of the buildings. And what that does is that enables the construction team, as Jeff talked about, to remove various wings at different times. And so the initial part of it is to be able to demolish the annex, which is where the majority of the new central intake happens. And so you'll see that work, the community will see that work begin right away. But what that also does is it allows us to sequence then some various other packages. So bid package 2 and bid package 3 will then get into some of the other aspects as you start to come out of the ground. So clearing some of the site utilities, some of the foundations, prepping for some of the structural, and all of those pieces, the design team is actively working so that those packages that we refer to them will actually be bid out at separate times. And with each case, using Granger's estimating to align their estimates to our bids, to know that as we procure each of these phases, that we're in line with our overall budget. So this timeline really kind of articulates all of that, and our goal is to meet our aggressive schedule of being able to procure everything to meet the federal ARPA guidelines, to have all that procured and under contract by the end of this year. And so that's really what those 4 packages allow us to do, allow us to take advantage of construction windows, weather windows, all that kind of stuff to start yet this year, while the rest of it continues to refine. Also towards the bottom of this, talks about when we anticipate coming back, of course, for our quarterly updates, but also you had seen in your dashboard is when our anticipated schedule is to hit some of these procurement deadlines. And again, it's critically important that we continue to stay on schedule and procure those at those particular times so that we can meet that deadline by the end of this year. Here's this again is reiterating what was in your dashboard report and gets into a little bit more detail with what we're planning for each of the bid packages. But then it also just talks about some of the other services that I talked about early on with some of the professional services, material testing, envelope commissioning. We just completed the environmental assessment on it. So there'll be a little bit of environmental work that will need to be done, and that will be brought forth as well. We can open it up to any questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, everybody. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you for the update. The contractors that you're bringing in, like the soil management, I mean, key things that we need to make sure that they're doing a good job. They're quality companies that do the right thing for us, because if there's a problem later on, we need to make sure that they're bonded and all the rest. I mean, unfortunately, the Southeast Michigan's had a bad experience building jails. St. Clair County had a terrible time 15, 20 years ago. The city of Detroit's still in the midst of their quagmire. So it's a real complex job, and I've been keeping appraised of the work you're doing there. You're spending a lot of time on the detail, but can you give us some reassurance about your background check on the contractors you're bringing in to make sure that they're skilled and that they're bonded, because we don't need any mistakes.
Yeah, we have a fairly robust qualification process for all the contractors that we engage with. It's a little bit of a misnomer because we call it a pre-qual. We don't pre-qualify them to bid because we want to create a competitive bidding environment to make sure that the county is getting the best possible pricing. However, there is a very robust analysis that is conducted on the low 3 bidders of every bid category. So we take lead on that. Our controller and our CFO review the financial standing of the company, compare it to the size and scope and complexity of the work that they are bidding on. We also analyze their safety rating, their work in progress, any backlog of work that they have. We're comparing that all against the scope that we're asking them to provide to ensure that we have a full understanding risk analysis of that contractor. So when we bring a recommendation to you, we feel confident that they can execute the work. And if not, perhaps we would ask to jump over them to the next bidder, or perhaps we would ask to bring on other safeguards such as additional bonding or accounting, third-party check agreements, things of that nature.
Okay, all right. In the design of the, in my first house, I had all my kids at home. I wanted to put a driving range and a batting cage in my basement because I wanted my kids to be skilled and start early in the season, right? My wife didn't think that was a good idea. We didn't have room for it. I see the gun range in the jail, and I wonder, why don't we just contract that out? Close quarters tactical's got facilities that we could use. Why is it necessary for us to have the gun range in a jail? I mean, it just seems like we're trying to, it just doesn't seem, I don't know. I mean, I know obviously we need to train. Definitely don't want to dismiss that, but certainly, why are we trying to cram a gun range in a jail where we're already limited to space? So I'm just, what's the benefit of that?
So it is nice to have it on site. There's hours and hours and
Convenience
hours.
is nice, but my having
Sure.
indoor range in my basement would be nice too, but we couldn't afford that, and it wasn't.
It's certainly, at 25 yards, it's not going to provide all the training they need for sure. Sniper training and other types of training, they are going to have to go outside of the facility, but it is a very
Why not do it
convenient
all outside the
location for it.
facility, I guess what I'm asking. Captain Mitch?
Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes, so in addition to handgun training and close quarters tactical, we've actually partnered with them before. I personally, when I was in the training division, I worked with them. There is a dollar amount to everything that we do. However, over the long term, it is more cost effective for us to have a range for the amount of deputies that we have for their training. And it's not just annual training, it's for every new deputy that we have. And it's long gun, it's handgun, it's rifle. We have a SWAT team. It's not just a one-time thing. So for the agency and on behalf of the county, it really is cost effective for us to fix the range.
I'm sure I asked probably an obvious question, probably it's come up before, but I had to ask it.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure you have a lot of people in the department, obviously, that need to be trained.
Yep,
And I've been down there before, when you got there now, it's kind of gothic.
Yeah, so it is needed, and like they said, for the environmental portions for our staff as well, and for doing that. But when you look at the number of people that we have 240 sworn deputies, we have 60 command officers, plus people from the SWAT team, which we have an interagency SWAT team. They train down there as well. Additionally to any reserve officers that have to train, there are a lot of people that go down there and
Is
qualify.
it going to be expanded? Because it seemed that what you had down there now is pretty cramped.
I don't think the footprint is not designed to change, correct? No, I don't think there's any square footage changes. Yep, just equipment.
All right, well, you're the experts,
Commissioner, if I might ask.
Please.
As you might recall, I was the former vice provost at Macomb Community College.
Come to the mic.
So we can get you on, there you go.
As you might recall, I was formerly dean and vice provost at Macomb Community College too. And I can assure you, with the amount of activity that the college has with their gun range, training police officers, basic police training and professional development, there really isn't the capability that they have in order to meet the needs of the sheriff's department, in my opinion. They are so busy with training of police officers for cities and townships, basic training and so on. It's really advisable to continue using the gun range that we have at the sheriff's department, with all due respect.
Okay, again, let me be clear, I'm not saying we don't need it, I'm just saying, where we have it's the issue, but I'll agree with what you say. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know who wants to field this, and I'm sure you probably covered it. With the additional space that's being provided, how much more parking space do we have for visitors Whoever wants to field the question can come up and give it to me. It's kind of cramped now. You try to pull up to the jail now, there's limited parking, and I just want to know if there's any additional parking with the additional space we're providing. You're up.
There is additional parking. I believe we've got an additional 15 spaces. The visitor parking that occurs along Elizabeth is just going to remain as is. The parking south of the jail is going to remain as is. There is overflow parking in the loop of the site, if you look at the site plan, in case it's needed. Then there's 2 lots for officers. I know you're asking about visitors, but there are multiple lots for the staff and deputies to park at. There's visitor parking, actually, now that I think about it, just to the west, if you know where the vehicle sally port is now, thank you, where vans pull in and bring people back and forth from court, and that's where they have intake. Just west of that is a new lot that's planned. That'll be just for visitors. So,
How much will that hold? How many people will that hold?
About 30.
That's good.
yeah,
That's what I needed.
okay.
Okay, and I'm looking at your plans here, and it looks like it's moving right along very nicely. So far, any anticipated dollar surprises that you guys didn't anticipate? I mean, sometimes it pops up and you're waiting to bring it to us. Be nice to know way ahead of time.
Right.
If you were thinking that something's coming, oop, I see 2 others standing there. Whoop.
Yeah,
There we go.
from a design point of view, a structural and an engineering point of view, we do not have the final geotechnical investigation report yet. That's expected this week, though we had done one in 2018 in the previous project. So we're not seeing any surprises at the moment. Once we get that report back and have a chance to analyze it, a lot of the times what's underground is what is surprising. In addition, the facilities group had the entire site, or most of the site, GPR'd, ground penetrating radar, to find any anomalies that we may not know about. And so that was completed as well. I don't know if you want to touch on that or not.
No, thank you, Darren. Just Andy Fountain, Plant Moran, Real Point, just to touch on Commissioner Romano's question regarding cost. So the process that we follow is, as mentioned, there's several check-in points. We have schematic, we have design development, and we have construction documents, and we have bidding documents. Those first 3 check-in, or first 3 design deliverables offer the opportunity for us to have a check-in on cost. And that's part of the reason why we have Granger Construction here as your construction manager to offer those pre-construction services or estimating services. So as we work through the design process, we refine that design to calibrate to the budget. So to your question, we are working with our professional service groups, with facilities, with the sheriff's department, to make sure that the design stays within the specified budget. So there are no cost surprises.
Okay, I think you can probably answer my last question. You mentioned the 4 bid packages that you're going out. Was that for demolition?
One of the first bid package is for demolition. Yes,
So,
sir.
Again, I'm asking, this being 2024, before you actually get into that, you're going to be a year or 2 down the line. How can you accept bid packages today for something that's going to happen or is it built? I'm trying to figure out the cost factor here. You're going to bid out, somebody's going to come to you with a bid today that's going to change. You know where I'm at, so help me out here.
Right. So I can let Mr. Havernack discuss this, but the intent is that when we bid each package, you're locking in that cost. So that cost would be then honored as specified, both from a scope of work perspective and from a timeline perspective. All that information is provided to the contractor at the time that they submit a bid. So we don't anticipate that there'd be any change in that. I'll let Jeff opine as well.
Yep, I think you hit it, Andy. Exactly that. We'll have a detailed construction schedule as part of our bidding documents. So those contractors will know when their scope of work will happen, and they can anticipate any, labor cost adjustments down the line. This is actually a ideal situation where we're reserving some of those labor forces this far in advance that are pretty taxed at this point.
Okay, I got it. You lock them in, they're locked. Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation. I thought it was very comprehensive. I just have a question about the design. I was wondering what the thought process was behind the top 3 levels, shaped like X's. I know we've seen these renderings before, and maybe I missed that, but just curious why it looks that way.
Sure. The configuration of each floor plate is really centered around the idea of allowing as much natural light into the space. So, there's, you don't have the images up here, but these wings is what you're speaking of, right? So this wall surface gives us the opportunity to bring in natural lighting into the cells. All the cells are on this side, and the day room space is kind of in front of those. So it's really creating a more humane environment, and also allows us to have access to, there's a fresh air court at each of these areas, these little green sections, where an inmate has, as long as they're behaving, has free ability to go outside, get some fresh air, and not have to be let in and out, all day. It's really an open door. You can't go anywhere. It's just, kind of centered around that. So that was the concept.
All right, thank you for that explanation. I really appreciate that, and I think knowing that they have sunlight and windows, I think that's really important for people's mental health. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you. I agree sunlight's good for people's mental health, but also if there's a lot of sun coming in, people are going to ask for window treatments to, block the sun, and that just gives them one more thing to try to hang themselves with. What are we doing with the windows so that people can either have it open, have it open or closed or whatever for sunlight?
Well, each of the floor plates, they're kind of similar here, so I can't really point to anything, but on that inside section, let's see. So if we're talking about this section here, all the cells are on this side, right?
Okay.
And those windows are going to be, I think, a 3x3 window, Darren, is what we have in there. And there's no blinds, but there could be louvers, right? And the windows are definitely tinted, so kind of like this building, these are mirrored, but it'll be a dark tint. The louvers are in the windows to avoid individuals from inside the facility communicating with individuals outside the facility.
So the louvers will be just big enough so they can wrap their sheet around it and hang
No,
themselves?
there's no louvers inside. They'd be inside the glass. You wouldn't be able to touch
Okay,
them.
they'll be captured in the window
Yeah.
themselves, okay.
So that would help with direct sunlight, but, the spaces on the north side of the building, we're not really gonna have any real issues with direct sunlight, but, there won't be any window shades or anything, but it is a tinted window.
Are the treatments, are the window products we're used in other jail facilities?
Yes, they are. These
Okay,
are
good.
detention grade, components, yes.
Okay. Does the current building have any groundwater problems? We all have basements that have some pumps. Is there any groundwater leakage problems in the current building? And if so, will they be addressed?
I wouldn't say there, it depends on the driving rains we get, kind of sometimes depends on direction. We do have some issues with drainage on the north side of the building along Dunham Road, Clinton Township system. Part of this project, we are going to be rerouting some of the drainage to the south side of the building, along with some detention, I believe, or underground detention, that'll help offset some of that groundwater issues. But it's kind of like one of those things where it's once or twice a summer, just something occurs where it's a torrential downpour and something gets clogged up, but it's not a regular occurrence.
Yeah, but if we know about it, we should plan for it.
We are, yeah.
Good,
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Now, with the limited space on the facility, I imagine there'll be storage of both construction vehicles and construction materials. Will you be taking over some of maybe the Verkulen building parking lot, or how are you going to handle that?
So For the intent of construction purposes, we'll keep our storage primarily to within the construction fenced area, so it'll be secured for materials. The phasing that I alluded to, we're working through on-site construction contractor parking. So the southwest parking area will have about 80 available contractor spaces there. As Max and D Block come down, we'll make way for about another 40. At peak times, we're anticipating we'll be close to 150 construction personnel on site, so that'll get us pretty close. There's additional parking just for personnel vehicles to the west of the service drive. So we think we can handle it for the construction folks.
Okay. I think Verkulen probably has some extra space, but I wasn't concerned about that. I was just curious whether you thought you'd have to spill over. So, sounds like you won't.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did I hear correctly in the beginning that it's a 25-bed reduction from the original plan?
Yes, you did, and I can give you the specifics on that.
That's what I was going to ask next. Are they all Gen Pop? Or are they all scattered about?
There was, let me see here. I can read this here. We have intake housing, right? So when somebody's brought in, they initially go into the intake housing. We originally had 56 beds there, and we're down to 50, so a 6-bed reduction. In the medical detox area, actually that hasn't changed.
Good answer.
In the the mental health acute subacute area, we were at 73 beds, and we actually lost 3, so we're down to 70. And in the general population housing, the biggest cut there was 16 beds, so we were at 112, we're down to 96. And these were reviewed with the sheriff and Captain Mish, and they're comfortable with
That's
these
going to be my next
reductions.
question.
Yes.
Tearing it up today, Mike.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Chair.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. I thought I read on the bottom of the last slide, responsibility for ARPA compliance, December 31st, 2024. Are you guys owning the ARPA filings to assure that we meet all the requirements, or is the county doing that? I know Steve's squirming over there.
Well, again, we're working closely with the finance department, but the county handles the filings to Treasury. We act in a support role to provide information for those filings.
Well, it's one thing we want assurance on is we're not going to violate anything and have to give any of that money back.
Correct.
So we're all on that page?
We're on that same page.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Chair.
Good question, Commissioner. Yeah. Just one point, looking at the presentations as far as the location of the jail, if we could add just the directional on those, the north to south, just to see which way the actual building's facing, because I thought it was on there, but it doesn't appear to be, because when you're saying on the south side of the building, we can't really see that in your diagrams. That would be very, very helpful. I know we're going through design phase right now, so are there any departments that are part of this entire process that wanted something specifically in this that did not get it?
I can answer that, and to the best of my knowledge, no. There's we've met with every group from the initial group that we started with all the way through to where we are right now, and there's been accommodations for their needs. So we're really reviewing, like, office cubicle layouts and aisle widths, and I mean that much detail, ceiling heights and acoustics and things like that. So I believe we're addressing everything thus far that I'm aware of.
Great. The reason I ask that is because, once it's designed, we're not going to go backwards. So I know we've had other projects where at the last minute there was a design change. And I don't want that obviously to happen here. And in regards to like the capital improvements compared to the central intake, is everything, I know, and these are two separate budgets theoretically in our systems. Are we addressing everything on the capital improvement side that's in your timeline that needs to be done before we're doing anything outside of the scope of the actual central intake?
See if I'm following here. So is there additional will you see additional capital improvement items? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. What I'm trying to get at is that I know we're doing a lot of modernizing old existing things that are currently in our jail that we have to get to, current standards, which I heard in the presentation.
Correct.
Are we doing that across the board, whether it's HVAC, electrical, plumbing, everything? Or are there anything that we have to be aware of going forward that's going to be there that, oh, we didn't address this and we should have?
So the capital improvement items that are on the current list that they briefly went over, what we did was we took everything we had in for the jail at the time of budgeting and capital improvement and removed it and put it into the project. And now, since then, we've kind of gone through that in great detail to prioritize things like elevators, fire systems. The capital improvement that we're dealing with right now are all major systems within the jail tower that are antiquated and cause me to lose sleep at night, frankly. Elevators, fire systems, electrical systems, our HVAC systems. So we are targeting all the major systems in that tower with the anticipation that this tower is going to stay operating for my foreseeable future. So will you ever see, or will you see more capital improvement projects as I go on? Yeah, you will. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast over there. I think it'd be very unlikely to see a capital plan without jail projects on it. It just is what it is. But these are very big, major projects that are difficult for my department to handle by ourselves. That we've been able to empower the architects, engineers, and experts to be part of this project. So some economy of scale there, getting the bigger contractors for not so pretty work, and kind of using the bigger project to our advantage.
Okay.
So I think I answered your question.
Yep.
But
No, you did.
yeah.
I just want to make sure we're checking all the boxes for everybody across the board, including you.
Yeah, yeah.
Because once they hand it off to you
Yes.
to maintain for the foreseeable future.
Yes,
So,
sir.
okay, second round, Commissioner Brown.
Some of us have been talking to our friends in Washington about trying to bring additional dollars in. And one of the issues that is helpful for us to try to lobby on our behalf is the mental health integration to our jail. And obviously, we're designing mental health beds, and I need a cost for what those mental health beds cost us, because there is possibly there might be some grant dollars available to us to say, listen, you can help partner with this mental health component that we're adding to our jail, because they want to give us money that people are interested in helping us with programming. Well, we can't have programming without the base, which is the mental health units in the jail that we're building. And if I can get some cost estimates, preliminary cost estimates as to what those numbers are, when I go back and talk to them, say, all right, here's the program, the mental health portion, this is what we need for bricks and mortar. Because they don't really necessarily like to give us bricks and mortar, because they just gave us a lot of money for bricks and mortar, right? Mm-hmm. But if we could tie it into a program that we're trying to do and expand, there might be some way to help us. So if I had those numbers, it would help me, help us. And I'm sure the administration may have already asked for that, but
I'll address it. I think that it's a complicated question to answer.
Of course it's
If we can
complicated.
come back and provide you something, let us do a little.
I don't expect you to have a snappy answer, but
Thank you.
That's something
Thank
I'm
you.
looking for.
Yeah, we can put something together
I
on
mean, it
that.
could be an estimate, doesn't it? They're not going to audit it, but I mean, but we might, but they won't.
Fair enough.
Sure.
We'll get back to you on that one and get you
Appreciate
some
that.
data.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, everyone. Great presentation, well-informed information, keeping us up to date with everything, so we really, truly appreciate that. I don't see any other questions, so we have a motion on the floor to receive and file. Please vote.
Nard says yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
Great. Okay, next is Finance Audit Budget Committee Department recommendations, 7A and 7B. This is waived by the Internal Services Committee Chair. This is a budget amendment for facilities and operations, Macomb County Service Center Phase 3 site electrical upgrades in the amount of $44,900. I need a motion to recommend 7A and 7B to full board.
So move, Hall.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Haw, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Ben?
Okay. This is much less exciting presentation, I think, than the jail project that we've been spending tremendous amounts of time on. So no PowerPoint from me today, but this is a contract amendment for DiClemente Siegel design for the Phase 3 site electrical upgrades project. The original contract, it's going to sound crazy, but it was originally approved in May 27th, 2021. This upgrades project is an extremely design-heavy project, including replacing main electrical feeders to the Martha T. Berry facility, which are original, they're from the early 50s. Selective demo of antiquated equipment in the powerhouse, and providing duct bank for electrical feeders for the jail tower. They originally started with this design and completed this design, and as they finished, the jail project was on the horizon. And one thing we needed to add to this project was the duct bank for the jail tower. And duct bank is basically an underground pathway, protected cement pathway for the electrical feeders to the jail tower. Currently, as it sits, those electrical feeders are what they call direct burial. They basically just take these high-power electrical lines and drag them under the ground with no protection. So it leaves us a little bit of a risk to our power situation at the jail. So in good faith, we don't want to leave that sort of system in place for this jail tower. Additionally, the additional engineering and architectural services in this amendment are also going to modify the construction documents to relocate the backup data center from the jail building to the powerhouse. JACO and the IT team talked briefly about this with a contract last month with, I believe, Everstream. Don't quote me on that, and to relocate fiber to the powerhouse, basically. The powerhouse is more safe, secure, and a suitable environment for the backup data center, and moving it sooner rather than later will pave the way for demolition and site work required in the Central Intake and Assessment Center project. So this is really an amendment to a long past contract to help us design the new backup data center in the powerhouse, as well as provide the duct bank and potentially the feeders for the new jail facility.
Okay, great. I don't see any questions on this item. Please vote. Thank you, Ben.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next items, 7C and 7D. These are also waived by Internal Services Committee Chair. This is a budget amendment, facilities and operations, architectural and engineering services for 2024, electrical upgrades for various sites in the amount of $120,000. I need a motion to recommend 7C and 7D to full board.
Support, Lucido.
Moved by Wallace, supported by Lucido. Ben?
So 7C, 7D, this is a contract with Wakely Associates Incorporated for professional architectural design and engineering services for what I'm calling the 2024 electrical upgrades or various projects. If you may or may not remember my very exciting capital plan, what I've done is I have 3 independent electrical projects that are going to take place at Old Central Receiving, the Circuit Court, and Public Works. What happens with these small projects is the design fees they increase due to the small nature of the project, and it kind of discourages bidding, as some of them are not super attractive project for contractors to bid on. So what I've done is I've combined 3 projects into one. We're going to bid it as one electrical package. So this is the design and engineering services as well as contract administration for that electrical project. And like I said, it's a transformer replacement at Old Central Receiving, replacement of substation, switchgear, and electrical service equipment in the circuit court that is antiquated and far out of date, and has been tested, and the experts tell us that it should be replaced. And also Macomb County Public Works Office, this is a full building backup generator that we are designing and installing. Funding is available in the 2024 capital plan.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. I remember talking about these.
Yeah.
Which is a great idea. I don't see any questions on these. Oh, Commissioner Brown.
I see Wakely Associates is the one that we're using on this one. I haven't heard their name in a while. How are they selected?
They were selected as the, you know, a lot of times they've already touched some of these projects. They did the downtown project, which had a pretty heavy impact on the core electrical system. So going to them it was just kind of with the backup knowledge, the CAD drawings, et cetera. I think for bang for the buck, I think it was the best opportunity.
Okay.
Additionally, we're still seeing significant delays in architectural and engineering services. In an attempt to get projects done, you know, I am leaning on some resources that have long-standing knowledge, you know, some of them longer than I've been here, of our buildings and properties, especially with electrical. We're looking at, you know, sometimes 60 to 80 plus week lead times on some pieces of equipment. So.
Okay, good, thank you. Makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, seeing no other questions, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is 7E. This is also waived by Internal Services Committee Chair. This is contract with Wakely and Associates for professional architectural and engineering services for paving and masonry restorations at various sites in the amount of $105,000. Need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So moved by Nard.
Support Zinner.
Moved by Nard, supported by Zinner. Ben?
Okay, so this one is actually, this comes out of our operating budget and F&O. This is a contract for professional architectural and engineering services for our paving projects, as well as our masonry restoration at various sites. Some of these sites are carryovers from last year where we frankly ran out of season. The asphalt and cement factory shut down earlier than anticipated, so we kind of ran out of time. This is for various sites, and I'll kind of get into that. Additionally, we'll be looking into design for exterior protections at various buildings due to our past with being an attractant to vehicles and different issues on our various sites. Paving includes, but it's not limited to, as we are still designing, or we're still going to get into this design, and as we come out of winter, we'll be doing another survey of our sites. But we work to the budget that I have already determined. Vercoolen building, we are doing a pretty big parking lot replacement over there. Public Works, we're doing the main drive for Public Works and some sidewalk replacement, New Baltimore Court as well. We're also going to touch the parking deck for the first time. There is a traffic coding system on the rooftop that frankly gets a lot of wear and tear from plowing, salting, etc. So this is something that we're kind of behind on, so we're going to get it back up to speed to protect the concrete on the roof. And this is something that I will have in the plan every year as a maintenance item. In the spring, we'll go in, recaulk, reclean, and recoat areas that are exposed to the elements. Masonry restoration, this is mostly tuck pointing. And honestly, most of it's going to take place here downtown. Circuit Court, a couple years ago, we did the north side of the Circuit Court porch. We did re-waterproofing of the court building on the north side, replaced the court porch. It was in very poor shape. This time around, we are going to do the south porch, so from the front entrance south, this way. If you go over there right now, the concrete is in very bad shape. Waterproofing has not been done in decades, so we are going to re-waterproof that that porch deck there, re-cement that, reroute some of our fire lines that are antiquated as well, and fix the kind of unsightly concrete on the far north side of the building where the old parking structure was taken down. We have some deterioration of the old parking bridge, so we are going to repair that, clean that up, and make it look better. We're also going to remove and replace the lower granite panels of the county building. We are having water intrusion in the county building. We've frankly been chasing it down for the 15 years I've been at the county. So we're gonna be a little more aggressive with it, remove those lower granite panels, waterproof the building properly, and put new panels back in place. So that is a big lump of the masonry restoration. After the winter, we will revisit some of our sites to see if we have any damage from the winter. I'm not anticipating anything major. This winter was kind of nice on us over in FNO, so. And that is all, both paving and masonry restoration are both operating. And we have money accounted for.
Commissioner Zinner?
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad you mentioned how long you've been at the county. I don't know how long you've been in facilities. How long have you been?
I've been in facilities, I think, for 9 years. Yeah.
Your explanations to me are so detailed, and I really appreciate that. It's like you can almost picture that you're working on it right now.
I appreciate that.
Your report. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we take pride in what we do in FNO, and our buildings are what people see when they come here. So it's something we live and breathe every day, and we're trying our best to keep on top of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you, Ben. A few months ago, there was a van fire or something in the parking structure.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Is there any maintenance, repair, or, I mean, I know the structure isn't broken, but is there any repair or cleanup or beautification that we should do as part of this?
So after the van fire, what I did was we closed off that section above and below the parking deck. I had structural engineers come out just to make sure we were good. The firefighters tell me it wasn't that bad, whatever that means. So we did have engineering group come out, check the concrete, check all the caulk and the seams and expansion joints. Everything checked out fine. We did a cleaning effort as best as possible.
Okay.
They did pretty good. It's hard to get the soot off and all the plastic. So we have done cleaning. We've checked it structurally. So I have no real concerns here.
And I'm going to go back again to groundwater. I know in the parking structure and below this building, there's water leaks down the walls many times.
Yes.
Is anything ever going to be done with that?
So we've been chasing water leaks with this tunnel in underground parking and all of my underground parking for long. We've done 4 projects chasing down water in that underground parking garage. I have one repair I'm going to do this spring outside of this that is not a very costly repair on the porch. We're going to see what happens to deal with Commissioner Grott had shown me one of the walls where it's coming down. So we're looking into it, we're trying to trace it down. We are replacing also several flags of concrete just outside what they call the Welcome Center doors. There is a planter that's leaking into the basement. So we are actually going to, it's the second time we're dealing with this planter, so we're actually going to remove the planter box, put concrete, and waterproof it properly. The tree doesn't grow well, it starts looking bad, and we can't keep the water from going down, so.
I mean, we seem to be up on a little bit of a rise. Clearly, we're quite a ways above the river, and I'm surprised that there's that much groundwater.
Most of it's actually not groundwater, most of it's coming from, it was from the planter box. We fixed the planter box. I don't know if you recall, several years ago, we emptied the whole thing out, re-waterproofed it. What happens is the water just finds the next weakest points, and then we're gonna track it down. And so right now, I think it's on the opposite side of the building that it's getting in, so.
Okay.
We're gonna track it down. We excavated the court porch, or sorry, the admin porch last year, this section of it, outside the main entrance there. And it's shifted on us, so we're gonna keep trying.
Some of those nasty little details that are hard to.
Yeah,
pin down.
it finds its way, and
Yeah.
as soon as we plug one hole, it finds it somewhere else, so.
There you go.
We'll
Thank
keep
you.
chasing it down.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, seeing no other questions, please vote. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is 7F and G. This is a budget amendment for Finance Department for additional staff in the amount of net change of $72,600. And then also purchases for services from Robert Half Associates for temporary staffing for $291,400. I need a motion to recommend 7F and 7G to full board.
So
Motion, support.
Moved by Haw, supported by Romano. Steve?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see everyone again. I have these two items before you today. They're obviously related. One's a budget amendment, one's a purchase approval to engage with Robert Half to bring in 8 staff members on a temporary basis for anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks to assist my office in 2 different ways. One is to backfill 3 vacancies that we currently have. We've had a number of vacancies throughout the last year and a half in my office. Our candidate pools have been small and not as strong as we would definitely like to see. And what I'm asking for, part of this request is to bring in 3 temps from Robert Half to backfill those 3 vacancies till such point that they're filled with permanent replacements, and then have them spend some period of time passing the information and knowledge that they've learned at their time here onto the permanent hires. I can say that the 3 vacancies that I'm talking about are fiscal analyst positions. Those positions have been posted. The posting came down last Thursday. We do look like we have a stronger candidate pool at this point. We expanded the sites that we posted the jobs to maybe attract more government experienced folks. So we do have a fairly large pool, so we're hopeful that we can fill those fairly quickly. But as you know, it takes some time to scan through, select the candidates, schedule interviews, make offers, have offers accepted, and then allow those folks to give notice to their current employers. So I'm anticipating maybe not until late June, early July to fill those 3 positions. And so part of that, this request is for 3 temps to backfill current positions or vacancies, I'm sorry. And the other is for 5 staff to assist us in preparing for the upcoming annual audit. And this is a direct result of difficulties and challenges that we have encountered through the Workday implementation. And you may or may not have had conversations or heard from conversations with folks throughout the county. The HR side, the payroll side of the implementation has been relatively smooth, in my opinion. We had some initial bumps, but those have been smoothed out. People are getting paid. We're not having ongoing issues. Finance side's a little bit different story. It's been a rough road, rougher than I anticipated. We've had data conversion issues, data integrity issues, transactions that didn't come across from the old system into the new system. We've had to reverse course on a couple of different modules. The grants is one of them. So we've had to restructure, kind of do some surgery on our chart of accounts. The banking module, we were led down a path of accounting for certain banking transactions in certain ways. We've had to reverse course on that. So we're behind on bank reconciliations. It's just been a rough road. We're struggling in my office. We're working overtime. I'm asking for these folks for, again, 8 to 10 weeks to come in, backfill, help my staff so they can concentrate on getting ready for the audit. So with that, I can say that our normal deadline for having the audit complete is June 30th. We will not meet that. We will be requesting an extension from the state. They will generally only give us a 30-day extension, which carry us through July, and it's highly likely we will carry into August, actually, based on the timing of this request. So I think Phil Kraft, Commissioner Kraft's heard a little bit from the mental health side. I don't know what everyone else has heard about the implementation. We're doing the best we can. We're working overtime. My folks are getting burnt out. I'm concerned about that. And this is a cost neutral proposition paid primarily with vacancy money, as well as exhausting the remainder of the contingency money in the Workday project. So no additional fund balance requests from the general fund. So with that, I'll keep my comments brief, take any questions, but kindly ask for your consideration and approval.
Well, as soon as you said workday, the weather instantly changed outside.
Yeah, I see. It was sunny and nice, and then they were up talking about the central intake
Yeah,
project.
exactly. So,
So-
we have a lot of questions here, so we'll start with Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. To be fair, it was like that in the previous agenda item. I was checking the window. So regarding Workday, I mean, for the amount of money that we pay them, do they not offer any staff support or hours or
We
any
have
kind of
a
support?
consulting company that we've engaged with by the name of Guidehouse for post-implementation support. They've been superb, in our opinion. And they've also guided us in different paths that probably should have been taken originally. So it is what it is. I'm not going to try to get into the
Okay. And
particulars.
How long do you anticipate that these temporary staffers will be?
Anywhere from
on
8
board?
to 12 weeks, 2 or 3 months.
And that will rectify all of the issues that you're seeing?
I'm hopeful. I can't guarantee that, but I'm hopeful that that'll get through most of it.
But Workday is not offering any support? Like directly, not Guidehouse?
They generally don't offer support directly. They use third-party implementers, which is Guidehouse.
All right,
And we utilize Guidehouse a fair amount, actually.
Okay. all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, like you said, 8 to 12 weeks. The number that you're proposing to us, would that cover them for the 12 weeks?
You'll see in the proposal, certain positions I've costed out at 8 weeks, some at 12 weeks.
Okay,
So the audit assistance would be for upwards of 12 weeks.
all right. So there's no way to go over, you don't think you'll need more after this?
I'm hopeful that I don't. Yes. If I do, I'll be back. But, I mean, 3 months is 3 months. That's a long time, you know? So the issue is getting them in, getting them familiar with us, so they're effective, basically. So that's kind of where we're at. We're later in the game than I had hoped or anticipated. So we'll do the best we can and just get it done. I mean, but we need the help. Again, I'm worried about burnout in my staff. They're working, some of them are working both days of the weekend, that kind of thing.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, I realize I've heard there's been problems. Sorry things aren't working out, and sorry for the whole situation. But I thought that we had voted for less people than this originally, or we were talking about less people. Am I just mixing up the numbers of people for this? Were more people added?
No,
Apparently not.
no, this was originally to be on the agenda last month. Nothing's changed with this.
All right, thank you very much.
Nothing's been changed.
Yeah, I know it needs to get cleaned up and straightened out. I
It's
understand.
it's just a massive, very complicated, sophisticated system.
I
and-
understand. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. All the temps will be on site?
Yes,
You got room for them?
yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, we're on site. This would not work in a remote environment.
That's my opinion, too,
Yeah,
so-
exactly. Yeah, we're in the office still 5 days a week, in our office.
Commissioner Perna.
Question on Robert Half, when you posted your position, you didn't get any takers, correct?
So we would get takers, Commissioner, but maybe we'd get 2 or 3 applicants for a position, not through Robert Half, would be just through the county posting process. And so a couple of these positions have been vacant since last fall. We've posted them multiple times. We might get 2, 3, 4 applicants.
So these are for part-time positions?
These are part-time Robert Half folks. 3 of them would go away, basically. Their assignment would be done when we fill vacancies, the 3 vacancies. The other 5, once they get through the audit assistant. So there's 2 different disciplines, I guess, or 2 different functions, if you will. I will say, we did expand, as I said earlier, this last posting for fiscal analyst, we expanded the sites that we posted to. So LinkedIn, Michigan Government Finance Officers Association, to get more candidates. We do have, I think, Steve, were there 30? I think there were 30 applications. And so we'll get those. We've reached out to HR. They'll do their screening process. I think we're supposed to get those tomorrow or Friday.
Is your compensation too low and now we're paying an extra fee to get them from half?
I don't think that. I think it was the experience of government, and I think across the board, I've heard in HR now that we're getting larger candidate pools, generally speaking. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but this is by far the largest pool that we've seen in a year.
Because half's fee is what, about 30, 40%?
No. This is.
You're hiring half.
No. We're bringing half in, and then when we fill the position, to backfill, and then when we fill the positions, the Robert Half folks' assignment is done.
Right, but while they're here, you're paying Robert Half.
Correct.
They're employees, but they're pretty expensive.
Anywhere between, I'll say this, anywhere between $68 and $74 an hour is what we've seen for an accountant. If you have a higher level like the auditor type, it's upwards of $115 an hour. And I would say this, if we were to work more overtime than my office is already working, my fiscal analysts make about $40 an hour. So now you're paying $60 an hour plus the benefits to work overtime versus having Robert Half folks there at $67 an hour. So it's, in some cases, more economical to actually, if you're working overtime, to have the Robert Half folks in hand. We had Robert Half in last year. We've had experience with them, and we've been very happy in the past with the competency of their folks. They're very responsive.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, a couple questions. I know you're having challenges with hiring people, as are other departments. I know HR has been hiring a lot of people lately. It seems like we are expanding our pool, so that's
Yeah.
good. I know your price points are probably really challenging in what you're trying to hire based on.
Yeah, our fiscal analysts tap out at about 80,000 max.
Have you considered, and I've said this before, looking into possibly bringing in people on a part-time basis rather than try and hire full-time people for your department?
We haven't gotten to that point yet, Commissioner. I'm very hopeful that with this round of applications, we'll get those 3 people that we have. Part-time can work potentially. We haven't talked about it seriously. But again, we got a pool of 30, hopefully. I mean, you'd hope out of 30, you can find 3.
Okay. Budgetarily, so you're taking savings out of your personnel department, your line item? Okay, so you're using your own funds here.
Yes.
And then taking contingency funds.
The last remaining contingency from the Workday project that was originally allocated a couple of years ago.
Okay, so that fund now is drained.
That would be depleted, yes.
Okay. I know we got to get our audit done. I know we got to get our.
I'm just, yes, obviously we do. And I wish I had better news, but.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, please vote.
Lucido, yes.
Yes. Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I'm going to hand over the meeting to Records and Public Safety Committee. Is that Commissioner Romano? No?
Yes.
It is. That's why he's smiling.
I was waiting for my gavel. If I bang it 3 times, that means the storm's too close. We're adjourned. Everybody run to the door.
How about A through K?
What constitutes too close?
It's the latest meeting you've chaired. You wish you didn't start.
Records and Public Safety Committee Department recommendation. A, it's a contract with Macomb Community College, crisis intervention training, $200,000, fiscal year 2024, then $150,000 annually thereafter. Bart Cassidy, Director of Community Corrections, is going to explain it to us. I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
So moved by Nars.
Support Wallace.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Wallace, and I have Ms. Caskey.
Good afternoon. We are requesting approval of the contract with Macomb Community College, specifically their Public Service Institute, for $150,000 annually, with an additional $50,000 in this fiscal year, for some additional upfront training that we have to do. For the crisis intervention training, or more commonly known as CIT training, if you're familiar with it, to Macomb County first responders through the opioid settlement dollars. This program will allow, this contract will allow Macomb Community College to develop, plan, and coordinate CIT training and provide the CIT 40-hour curriculum to law enforcement around Macomb County. CIT training is a community partnership for law enforcement, mental health, and addiction professionals, as well as individuals who live with mental illness or substance abuse issues, their families, and other partners to improve community responses to mental health crisis. This program focuses on public safety while increasing connections to mental health services, using law enforcement strategically while increasing access to other supports, other programs that we've talked about before that are planned within the opioid settlement fund, things like mobile crisis units and crisis stabilization programs, and advocating for needed services and strengthening those partnerships across the community. Once the facilitators are trained with the initial training that we need to do, and it looks like we'll be doing that in October, then Macomb Community College will coordinate and host a minimum of 4 sessions annually of the 40-hour crisis intervention team trainings for Macomb County law enforcement and first responders, as well as other interested parties. We've spoken about some other groups of people that might be willing to participate or want to participate, like security at our local hospitals. And this information has been going out to a lot of our police departments. So we're trying to establish an advisory group with a lot of those representation from a lot of those groups to come to those advisory group meetings, as well as our mental health providers and other relevant stakeholders in the community. I'm here to answer any questions that you have, but that is an overview of that program.
Thank you. Captain Mish, is there something you want to add to that? Or are you here just for decoration?
She's my
my
backup.
I'm actually working with Barb on the project. So we want to make lasting change, and we want to be able to do really important things, and we're working together on that. So it's bringing very important training to our law enforcement officers. I know we've been in front of this board before, and there have been questions about what are we doing with mental health in our cops? And this is really it. And we're partnering with the college. Macomb Community College has an advanced police training where a police academy is held.
To the microphone, please, Cap.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
But no, working with Barb, who's phenomenal to work with, by the way, absolutely amazing. We're like, how can we reach people and have a meaningful program? Not something that's going to go away today or tomorrow. How can we take and make substantive change and make that change that's not just like, oh, we threw some money at it and we got rid of that problem. We really want to be able to take this money and put a program together for our law enforcement officers, first responders, people that work in our hospitals for long term. And so we're building with the college. We're working with the director and trying to be able to bring a multidisciplinary team. The CIT has an international model that has been very successful in other counties, and we want to bring that to Macomb County. We feel that that is the absolute best way right now that we can provide that long-term training. We want to be able to start to reach officers. It's a 40-hour course, so it's kind of hard to pull somebody loose for an entire week, but we really think that there's great value to it, and we would love to be able to expand it furthermore, to get the front end of newly hired police officers, newly trained police officers. But that's why I'm here, because we're working together on that. But
Thank you. We have some questions from some commissioners. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Barb, I'm excited for this. First off, my question for you is regarding the funding. It goes from $200,000 to $150,000 annually after that, and it's broken. The funding's coming from 3 different sources. What is the breakdown? So for the $200,000 for the first year, because there's, Michigan Department of Corrections pot 1, and then opioid settlement pot 2, and then County Macomb's pot 3.
Yeah.
What's the percentage? What's the usage? What's the plan for how we get to the 150 and the $200,000 marks?
So the bulk of those dollars are really coming from the opioid settlement plan. There was $150,000 allocated for that in the plan that we brought before you. There may be some additional dollars that come from community corrections, state funds, as well as county general funds, but it's going to be limited. Even the $200,000 that we're looking at having for the budget for this year, we're already halfway through. So we're not gonna hit that mark. We're looking at using, what we intended to use, which was the $150,000
Perfect.
from
Thank you,
opioid
Barb.
settlement. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Barb, I certainly support this training. It's something that's desperately needed, especially with all the conversation we're having with the new central intake center. Is this training mandatory or is it optional?
So I'm glad you asked that today and not 2 days ago, because I completed over the course of the last 2 days the CIT coordinator training. And what we're really trying to do is maintain fidelity to the model that Lori had talked about with the CIT International. And they really push to not mandate this training. They want officers who want to volunteer to participate. And then as we can sort of get the word out, you're hoping that you can implement that for everyone, but they really want buy-in with the initial set of officers that are being trained through it. So that's a long answer to your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to emphasize this because we just went through it in Roseville about 2 years ago. We made training optional, and one of the officers took it, and one of the officers didn't. There happened to have been a crisis environment. The officer that didn't take the training was involved, and that came up in litigation.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if our captain over there can push that we do make this mandatory training, if for no other reason from a legal perspective.
And to
For
correct,
our people.
yeah, to correct, or I guess clarify what I was saying, we want to start with volunteer officers.
Okay. That's
So then, and
different.
as word
That's
catches,
different.
hopefully everyone wants to volunteer, but it'll be included in what they
Well,
are
there's a
required.
big sign over at Care House that says, where are all the volunteers?
That's a good question.
That's quite
Yeah.
today's environment. Everybody wants to protect themselves from the legal perspective. So I'm just saying heads up to that in planning this for the future. And if you need support to have it mandated, just let us know.
Thank you. Like I said earlier, as a former training officer, we ran this actually in 2019. But it is very staffing intensive. So to run a 40-hour course, it's not just a course where there's a instructor standing in front of the room. It brings in multidisciplinary people between community corrections, community mental health. We bring a lot of different people in to learn how to deal with people who are in crisis. And just the staffing component alone to get those trainers. So we're going to do a train the trainer. We've talked to the chiefs of police. We're trying to get officers from every agency in Macomb County to assist us as train the trainer. So we have buy-in from all the chiefs of police for our trainers. But then to slowly start to get officers in. We know there's a staffing shortage with police officers. I can't just take police officers off the street for a week. For some of the smaller departments or even the bigger departments, there's that staffing implication. But that's why we're using the college to assist us so we're not depleting every agency. But yes, the goal would be to be able to provide this training to every police officer. I personally think it is that important for people to have. But we want to be able to make a model that is going to go beyond myself and Barb Caskey standing here. So hopefully it'll continue on, and through the next few years, we would be able to have a sustainable model of effective training that would be available to any officer in Macomb County.
That's really a good point, because I learned that the hard way as a mayor when we mandated training and sent 6 officers over there. We had to backfill with 6 officers on overtime. And the chief didn't want to do the training in the first place, so that's something that definitely needs to be considered as well.
And it's a reality of it, and it's one thing to go to one 8-hour day. You can move people around for one 8-hour day of training, but that 40 hours of training, in addition to all the other training that we're required to do in the year, it is a lot, but we think we have good buy-in, and I think it's a sustainable plan.
Well, good luck. Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Commissioner Sabatini.
Thanks, Chair. Just kind of following up with Commissioner Haw, which I thought were some great points there. First of all, I think the training is extremely important. I know the challenge with training is that typically when we hear training, no one wants to raise their hand because it's 40 hours, 60 hours, whatever that number is, and it just seems like it's so overwhelming. My thought with this would be, possibly could we break it down into pieces where it's less longer periods of time in training, so you're not taking people off from their normal, day-to-day operations, and putting them in a classroom or wherever the case may be. And, maybe that's something that's just different than other police departments are doing theoretically, rather than, mandating it or making it optional, which I think it should always be mandated if it's training, it's necessary. But that's kind of my thought. And then also looking at the retention side of it, because I think if your quality of life is good, and that's where we want our people to be happy, they're not going to leave us, right? So this could be a strategy that you could be using going forward, a retention strategy, quite honestly, that, will help your staff going forward. So just my 2 bits of information there and thoughts. Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Commissioner Van Sickle, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was happy that Captain Mish mentioned that the other jurisdictions are going to also be participating.
Yes.
I think it's very important to get all of our officers trained. On the other hand, with MCC, are they reinventing the wheel? Nobody has a program like this out there that they have to invent their own, or did I misunderstand?
No, this is a program that is available. It's been established and originally was known as the Memphis model, if you run into that language at all, since 1988 in some areas. What you have to do, and Oakland County has a very nice program that I was able to participate in, and that's where we kind of started to get the idea that we really need this here. The training that they are going to be facilitating for us, the first thing that we need to do is train the trainer. So they provide us with their model with great experience and knowledge, and that one training will allow us to be able to work from then on with our own trainers.
So the extra 50,000 the first year is covering train the trainer and that kind of thing?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
So you're not inventing new things, really?
Absolutely not, no.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's always good to take advantage of work that other people have done.
I will steal anything that works rather than do my own, yeah, absolutely.
Woman after my own heart.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Yes.
Let's have a verbal since we're not coming up. Oh, here it is. Please vote.
Yes.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
Did I vote?
Item B is contract Care of Southeastern Michigan Strengthening Families Programs, the amount of $431,925 annually. Ms. Caskey, Director's up here again. I need a motion to move this to full board.
So moved by Nard.
Support.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Nard, supported by Commissioner Van Sickle. Ms. Caskey.
We, as part of the opioid settlement fund, and the plan that, again, we presented last summer to you, we put out a request for proposal or bid in January for programs that would provide support for children that are being cared for that have lost a loved one to either incarceration or overdose as a result of the opioid crisis. We received one bid back from Care of Southeastern Michigan for the Strengthening Families curriculum. That is what's being presented to you today. The Strengthening Families curriculum is one of the very few programs that provides evidence-based outcomes when it comes to children and their caretakers when they're looking at juvenile delinquency, when they're looking at youth drug and alcohol use, when they're looking at violence in the home, parent and child or caregiver and child relationships. So we're really glad to see that the one bid that did come back was with a program that is known to have really good outcomes. And this is just one study These are done like, studies on medications, like they're very robust, and glad to see that that's what they presented us with. So the contract is for Strengthening Families, which is an evidence-based skill training program that helps parents and kids develop better family relationships, improve mental health outcomes, and help decrease youth alcohol and drug use, violence, and delinquent behaviors. This program is a 10 to 14 week program with weekly skills courses for the children and separately for the caregiver, and then followed by joint sessions that they have together. It's shown very positive results in randomized control trials in areas such as positive communication, positive parenting skills, improved parent-child relationships. For the kids, it's shown increased social skills, increased school performance, reduced misconduct and aggression, reduced depression and anxiety, and dramatically reduced drug and alcohol use. In addition to the curriculum, CARE will be managing a scholarship fund that we are hoping to implement that will provide scholarships to participating families for positive social supports. What that means is, do we have kids that are engaging in programming and that financially wouldn't be able to participate in sports or after school programs, whether that be art, music, those types of things that get them engaged in something positive for themselves outside of school activities? And is that something that we can assist with to make sure that they can participate in that and not have that financial burden? Because we know a lot of these caretakers are already having, financial concerns, having to take care of a child that they weren't expecting to. Again, this bid information was published in January, and CARE was the sole bidder. We would have liked to see additional bids, obviously. We're having sort of an ongoing issue getting as many bids as we would like. But being that CARE is the provider, it was the bidder for this, we were extremely happy. CARE has a long history of providing services in Macomb County for families, for children, as it relates to mental health and substance abuse. They also provide a lot of services to the criminal justice involved population. So they have the experience to be able to do this, and we're excited to see this program brought in and available not only for referrals from community corrections, but we're partnering with MCOSA for their providers that have individuals that would fit this need can also refer to this program as well. So if there are additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Before we get to the commissioners, I have to tell you, we mentioned something about Ben Truppa doing all his homework. You certainly do yours too. You make a great presentation. I seriously answer a lot of the questions before the questions are even being asked, and that helps us out a lot. I do have a commissioner with a question, though. Commissioner Hall, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is more for Chairman Brown than Barb. Do we know a dollar amount that we actually got on the opiate settlement the county got? I mean, we're spending $500,000 for the next 3 years here.
I think it's $18 million over the period of time.
So there's additional, if you don't mind, that's sort of an ongoing question because there are still lawsuits that haven't been settled. And there are other lawsuits that have been settled, but they've not been distributing the funds yet. The largest settlement that we're receiving is $1.5 million annually for the next 18 years. There are additional settlements that have come in, and again, like I said, there are more that are coming. There's been a significant amount of deposits to the county for these settlements. Some of them are sort of backdated. They were a little slow to get the funds, so we got a large amount of money at first, and then we also received some prepayments for like 2025, 2026. Those are already in the bank, but it is a significant amount of money.
So we're going to count on that money to use in the budget for the next 3 years, because Joe always asks that question.
Yes. And we're being very mindful of the fact that we could have, that we're staying to the funds that we know are coming when I look at our budget, and that there are a lot of one-time projects that we'd like to be able to complete. The additional video court arraignment rooms were one of those that we were here for last month. So we're really looking at the ongoing funds that are coming in, those one-time projects we can look at for those payments that we got. Were over and above what we thought we were going to have.
And I know at one time, I believe it was Commissioner Van Sickle asked the question, there really is a loose definition of what these opiate settlement funds can be used for. You're confident this falls within that?
Extremely confident.
Okay.
I've take a lot of pride in the fact that we are dealing with this, with the opioid settlement funds as a grant, even though we don't have to.
Thank you.
That's what I'm used to. That's what we're gonna continue to do, and we wanna make sure that we are absolutely, adhering to what these funds were intended for.
Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
I have a good question.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. Speaking of the opioid funds, can we use them for past expenses? We expanded our morgue and spent a lot of money, in large part because of the excessive amount of, we just needed more capacity because of the crisis. Can we turn in an invoice for the amount that we paid for that morgue?
I would like to consult with Corporation Counsel on that question. That's something that I think we would have to delve a little bit more into before I could give an answer on that. And I think Corporation
Why don't you
Counsel
look
would
at that,
be.
because I think that's legitimate expense.
Okay.
I mean, in those dark days, it was terrible.
Yeah, no, I can speak to Corporation Counsel and see what they think.
We needed it for that very reason. It's a
No,
legitimate
absolutely.
expense, and we need to be paid back. Fortunately, we can't bring up, anyway, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Chair. Thank you, Ms. Caskey. Seeing no other speakers, please vote. We have a motion in support.
Yes.
Commissioners Haw and Perna, if you'd like to voice vote, I'll add it in.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you.
I wasn't touching nothing. I knew Luke was around somewhere.
Item C is a budget amendment, the Register of Deeds Remonumentation Grant. Before we get into this, so that we understand where we're at, I'm going to take C through K. I had the opportunity to talk to Clerk Forlini, and he has other issues, and that's what we have Mr. Burdick here to explain. But so that for the information for the commissioners, this is a grant that we've received. All of these items are being paid for with that grant. We're going to receive a certain portion of it immediately, and then as we pay off these different programs, the grant is for the total amount of $172,828. If we will not go above that, and if it goes below that, the money that's not being used has to be returned. And if I said something that wasn't right, I'm sure Mr. Burdick will correct me, but I need a motion to recommend 9C through 9K to full board.
So move.
Support.
I've heard Commissioner Hall and Commissioner Lucido to move this to full board. Ms. Burdick, sorry, and I apologize for keeping you so long, but we like
No
looking
problem.
at you and your
No
staff.
problem. I'm going to be short because I have a bowling championship to
I
go to
understand.
when
You're
I
about
leave here.
5'8", so boy, you can be
My
short.
team is in the final night.
I'm sure all our commissioners have looked at this and examined it, and I'm
Yeah.
sure they've answered all the questions by
Yeah,
calling you direct.
I can answer any
So you
questions
can start and
anyone
go right
has.
down the line if you like.
Yep.
If we have any questions, we'll wait till you get through, and then we'll ask.
Yep, it's very
Go ahead,
short.
sir.
So this grant comes before you every year. The grant is funded by the documents that we record at the office, by the public. $3.94 of every document goes to the Remonumentation State Fund. Then they calculate an amount that each county receives based on the prior year's contributions. We are in maintenance, which means we visited every monument in the county, and now we're going back and revisiting to make sure that they're all still there. So that's called the maintenance program. This is our second year of maintenance. Last year was the first. You have a series of items here. One is the grant, one is the budget amendment. The budget amendment is because when the county does the budget process, they give us the amount of the previous year's grant. We don't find out until December after you all are done planning the budget, so we always have to come before you to adjust the budget for that year once we know how much money we're getting. The other two contracts on here, one is for the survey representative. That's Miss Catherine Dedecker. She is the expert who manages this whole program for us. And then 5 contracts are for the individual surveyors that will go out and do the work. That was determined by Catherine for the year for the program. And the last contract is for basically an independent person who is a surveyor who attends peer group meetings, who isn't out doing the work, but verifying the work that is done before we submit it to the state. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Commissioners, we have any questions? I don't see any on the board. We have none. Please vote. We have a motion and support.
Yeah, well, my dad bowls on the team with me. He's 77, so I'm excited about this for him more
What's
than
your
me.
average?
Commissioner Zinn,
Ryan's
did you
about
say
a
yes as well?
200 bowler. Don't let him.
Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
Is that for 3
Thank you.
games?
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. You're done. Go. You got a chance. Last one is a presentation. 2023 Civil Service Commission Annual Report. Oops. Hi.
Hi.
Motion.
Good
I need a
afternoon,
motion.
Commissioners.
Support.
See, I have a motion by Commissioner Song, Commissioner Vice Commissioner Sabatini.
And supported.
Please.
My name is Shirley Maniaci. I'm the Administrative Coordinator to the Civil Service Commission. And we just submitted our last year's annual report and just wondering if you have any questions.
Commissioners, anybody have any questions regarding the Civil Service Commission Annual Report, which is being received and filed?
I'll ask her.
And and another one. I apologize for keeping you so late.
Oh, that's
but
quite
that's
all
a
right.
good thing because I don't see any commissioners with any questions.
My
Oh,
system's
I
not
see
working.
one.
So the flow is moving through, the number of volume is increasing, getting through the system? The one time there was a.
Yes, like last year we had
I wouldn't say
a,
a jam, but there were some delays.
it was a jam. We had, last year, the Sheriff's Office decided to try to open up a position of deputy recruit to try to get more people in to fill in the deputy positions. And out of all those applications, we've only acquired like 3 people that were qualified. So they decided to step back and not go forward with the deputy recruit applications.
Are they lowering their standards to get more people in, or are they?
We have lowered them as much as we could possibly can. Unfortunately, it's finding the right fit, for the job is the important part.
Is there mental health checks that you go through?
They do go, yes, they are sent for if they are hired temporarily, they go through a physical and a psychological evaluation to make sure they are qualified for the position.
And of course, you do background checks on all of them, right?
Yes, definitely background checks, which takes the longest, and then, of course, the interviews.
Okay, all right. Wanted to give you some good questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Worth your time, right?
I see no other commissioners on board. I have a motion to receive and file. Please vote.
Thank you.
Motion passes 12-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be safe going home.
Item 11 is public participation. This is an opportunity for public participation. It's for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any issue. Mary, is there something you want to say? Going once, going twice. I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to item number 12, which is commissioners' comments, and I'm going to be the first one to congratulate Commissioner Song on winning the state rep position.
We're gonna have our big Macomb County Board of Commissioners caucus up there.
Who's next? Commissioner Nard?
I was at a 8 Mile Boulevard Association meeting, and they were talking about repairs and different upgrades that they'd like to do to 8 Mile. And we all know that Macomb County goes all the way to 8 Mile. That's our front door. And I noticed as I was looking at that budget, we only give them like $4,500 a year, which we've done for the last 30 years. And I was just wondering if there's something, if we can look into, see if we could do a little more so that they can do a little more to keep that corridor looking good. And I asked them if they could go all the way from where Warren starts to where Sarah's district is. And then I wanted to get Sarah, myself, Don, and a couple other people on a Zoom call with them or a meeting with them to kind of discuss some things.
They got a project and a plan. That's just been normal dues we've been paying.
Commissioner, you want to speak in the microphone? Thank you.
If they've got a budget and a plan to do something, I mean, we send them annual fees, you know, and or annual dues. So
We're faithful.
we're happy to help. They just gotta show us something we want to do.
Yeah, because they finally have somebody steady that's running it. They've been changing people the whole 3 years that I've been on there. We've had about 4 different people,
Yeah,
so,
unfortunately, we still got to close the gap with the state of Michigan taking care of that boulevard,
yeah.
which has still been
They have something planned with Michigan State that they're going to be working with, so I'll get that information. And
well,
I'll
if it
make
was
sure
in
I
front of
get
their
that to you.
house, they'd make sure it was damn well cleaned up better than it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Any other commissioners wishing to speak? State Rep, I'm sorry, Commissioner Song?
Thank you so much, Chair. I won't say too much today. I'm sure I'll have more to say tomorrow. Just really grateful that I get to attend and participate in another meeting with you guys. Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm so excited for the opportunity to represent a portion of Macomb and Wayne County and the 8 Mile intersection. And I understand very well about how there has been a divestment in that area for a very long time, and so certainly hoping to help change that. I also want to thank the residents of the 13th House District for electing me to be our next state representative. I am going to be, I'm going to miss all of you so very much, especially sitting next to Commissioner Romano here. I'll say more tomorrow, but I do want to answer a question because I have a lot of questions about when I will actually take office. And as you guys know, in 2022, the voters passed Proposal 2, which expanded voting in elections. And so last year, there was a bill that passed that would require the Board of Canvassers to wait 6 days for potential overseas ballots to come in before they actually certify the election. And so I believe the earliest will probably be sometime next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how all of that looks like. I really don't know when I'm going to get sworn in and when I will have to resign, and I'm very cognizant that you guys will have to meet to accept my resignation. And given that our last meeting of the month is tomorrow, there's a potential that you guys may have to come back in, or we'll have to come back in Friday. I'm working with Crystal right now to figure out the legalities of that, but really appreciate all of you for the support that you've shown me and the respect as well too. And I'll say more tomorrow. Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Yep. Zinner.
Who?
Zinner.
Commissioner Zinner.
I wanted to make mention of some teachers that received recognition in my district. Catherine Panoff of, I don't see the.
Are those tributes?
District? Yeah. Juliet O'Keefe, Paige May, Renee Foster, and one more, Jordan Crandall of the 9th District, the 9th Mission District. Teacher of the Year at one of the different categories. We appreciate our teachers teaching well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Who said that?
Who said that?
Support.
We've got a
There you
motion
go.
and support to adjourn. Please vote.
I abstain.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
That was Joe's problem.
That was Joe's fault.
Motion passes 13-0.
It is over. See you tomorrow.